Welcome to the 97th episode of the Reading and Writing Podcast. Stay tuned for my interview with Robert Bob Mayer, the author of many thriller novels, including the Area 51 series. Stay tuned for the interview. Welcome back to the Reading and Writing Podcast. My guest today is Bob Mayer. We're conducting this interview at Thriller Fest in New York City. Bob is the author of more than 50 novels, including many best-selling thrillers. Bob, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. Well, if the listeners haven't heard about I, Judas, the Fifth Gospel before, can you describe your novel?
Basically, it's I guess it's an end-of-the-world thriller where an object appears in space heading towards Earth, and we have two forces going against each other, one who believes it's the rapture coming, and the other who believes it's the end of the world. And it's a race against time to figure out what exactly is going on. It turns out it's what neither side expects. It's something totally different.
Great. Well, as I explained, you've had a successful career as a novelist, but can you talk about how you initially got interested in writing? You've written a lot of books, but can you remember when you wrote your first novel, what that experience was like?
1988, I was living in South Korea, and I had a lot of time on my hands, so I just started writing. I didn't even think about getting published. And then someone read the book and said, hey, this is like a real book. So then I started querying from South Korea, which is rather difficult to do. Eventually got an agent, and my first book came out in 1991.
Great. Well, in addition to your thriller novels, you also collaborated with Jennifer Cruzy on several romantic comedies. What was that process like for you versus writing a thriller or action novel?
Back then, the collaborations we did, what I did is I pretty much mimicked Jenny's voice. So we went with her point of view. She wrote the female character point of view, and I wrote the male character point of view. And I think it worked pretty well. I work with my wife a lot now in writing too, so I'm used to working with people.
And how did that original collaboration come about with Jennifer?
We actually literally got off the same airplane going to the Maori Writers Conference. We had never met before, and we talked next door to each other. And we started talking about it, and we were both looking to do something different with our careers. And I think it worked out well for both of us.
Great. Well, I know that you do seminars and you've written a book on the subject. What tips or advice would you offer for aspiring writers who are trying to publish their own novels?
I think the biggest mistake people are making right now is that since you can self-publish so easily in ebook, people are spending too much time trying to sell their first book, whether selling it to an agent and a publisher or self-publishing and trying to sell it to readers. I think the key is to have at least 3 books before you start spending a lot of time on trying to sell anything. I don't think you have to be in it for the long haul rather than expect instant success, because it's very rare that'll happen.
So write at least 3 books before you...
I think you can put them out there, but don't expect any numbers, any significant sales numbers.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're also doing a lot of e-publishing as well. What has that experience been like for you?
Well, Jen here, we formed what's now Cool Gus Publishing back in 2010, and we sold 3 books the first month, 3 ebooks the first month, and we just broke $1 million in sales last month. We're selling we're selling around 40,000 books a month right now, ebooks. We've got 10 authors. We've got over 75 titles. We're talking to another author tonight about signing her for her backlist. So it's really exploded. And with the publishing that you're doing, is that you're doing other authors as well as your own? We've got several that call Falconer. We've got a couple of Jen's books. We've got 10 authors. Yeah.
And you're doing your own backlist as well?
I'm doing my own backlist, and I've also signed a deal with 47 North of Amazon for a new science fiction series based on my Area 51 books.
And what have you learned in the process in terms of getting to, from the first month of selling 3 to the point where you're selling the numbers that you're talking about? What do you feel like you learned along the way in terms of either promotion or marketing or?
Well, that's the key. The hard part is I actually have 2 full-time jobs. And I think every writer nowadays, especially if you self-publish, it's 2 jobs. You've got to do the writing, but then you also got to run a business. And we just incorporated the company. Jen works at it full-time, doing the uploads, the covers, formatting, all of that. Last year, I pretty much worked full-time at the publishing company. This year, I'm trying to focus more on the writing. But I think a lot of people don't understand how much business stuff even if you're traditionally published, I think you really have to focus on the business side of things.
Sure. What are you working on now? What are you writing now?
I'm finishing up the first book that'll come out on 11 December, Area 51 Night Stalkers for 47 North.
And about your Area 51 series of novels, do you remember how you originally had the idea for that series? And
I think it was my ex-wife mentioned that on a deployment to Fort Irwin, she was a helicopter pilot, they had to divert around Nellis Air Force Base, and the airspace was highly classified there. So I started doing some research, found out about Area 51, and then what I realized was nobody knew anything. Everybody was repeating each other, but I thought, well, I could write a book about this. So I just started writing, and I ended up with 9 books in that series.
And what was it like writing the series? Was there things that you learned along the way about writing?
I'll never write a series again. The book I'm writing right now is a 3-book deal, and they're all going to be called Area 51 Night Stalkers something, I don't know what. But I already told the editor, I said there's not going to be a story arc over the books. I said each book will be standalone, which means you can pick up any book in the series in any order and read them. Because trying to have a 7-book story arc in Area 51, that was just overwhelming.
Gotcha. And where can people find you online?
At coolgus.com.
Coolgus.com. Great. Well, again, we've been speaking with Bob Mayer, the author of more than 50 novels, including many thrillers. Bob, thanks for doing the interview.
Thanks for having me.
Sure.
You wear a life jacket when you're out on the water and a bike helmet when you're out on the trail. Chances are you're a fan of added confidence. And so are we, especially when you're out on the road. That's why the 2022 Chevy Equinox comes standard with Chevy Safety Assist. 6 advanced safety features to help you stay safe. Find new confidence, find new roads. Chevrolet. Visit Chevy.com/safety to learn more about Chevy Safety Assist. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle's owner's manual for more important feature limitations and information.
'Tis the season for those irresistible ginger thins, cozy blankets for cuddling by the fire, and making home warm and welcoming. For one-stop holiday shopping, visit your local IKEA or IKEA-USA.com/holiday.